Hello, I'm Eugenie Scott, the president of Bay Area Skeptics and a proud member of the organizing committee of SkeptiCal 2021. 1 year ago this week, we lost James Randi, who was one of the founders of the skeptics movement in North America and a personal friend to many of us. The SkeptiCal committee has put together a brief tribute to Randi. I hope you will enjoy it, appreciate it, and I hope that it makes you reflect a little bit on the loss of this important person in our movement. After the video tribute, I hope you'll join us for a brief panel of reflection upon our loss of James Randi.
Magical thinking, you know, is a slippery slope. Sometimes it's harmless enough, but other times it's quite dangerous. Personally, I'm opposed to that kind of fakery, so I have no reservations at all about exposing these people and their illusions for what they really are.
A short segment of tape, as you would see it if you're watching it at home. This is what Popoff featured on his own program. You will apparently see a healing. Now, we went to Houston, Texas, and we discovered that the man was wearing, of all things, a hearing aid in his left ear, and a man who heals the deaf, Popoff himself.
Oh, I see.
And a man who heals the deaf and the blind isn't going to have much use for a hearing aid. One would think if God is speaking to him, maybe someone else is speaking to him.
Jerry Reed.
Is it Jerry?
Reed.
Reed? Is it Reed? Jerry Reed?
It's a woman. She's praying for her husband, Harold.
Who is Harold?
He's got cataracts.
I just believe that God is going to burn those cataracts off of your eyes right now.
That's disturbing when you see it.
It is indeed.
You tend to laugh at it, and yet these people obviously are so impressed with what's going on.
Oh, they're absolutely impressed. You see people collapse on the floor, tears running down their faces, believing that their kids with drug addiction are going to be healed now because he knew their name. He says he's talking to God, that God speaks directly to him because he's an anointed minister, and three things amaze me about that. First of all, it turns out that God's frequency, I didn't know he used radio, is 39.170 megahertz, and God is a woman, obviously, and sounds exactly like Popoff's wife. You see, you can't prove a negative. I don't try to prove a negative. They are supposed to be trying to prove a positive. Suppose I wanted to find out if reindeer for Santa Claus could fly. I suggest we take 1,000 of them up on top of the World Trade Center. One at a time, after numbering them, we step to the edge and we say, ready with number one, make notes. Push. Write down for number one, no, 0. Okay? Number two. Not too good either. Number two, no. Now, we could go on with all of that sort of thing, and ladies and gentlemen, what would we have proven? We would only have proven that these 1,000 reindeer on this occasion either could not fly or chose not to. And now for the results of the national ESP test. Most of you saw the wavy lines, 42%. Here are the other percentages. 11% saw the star, 16% the square, 21% the circle, and 10% the plus. 42% saw the wavy lines. Now, in previous tests like this one, it's been established that most people would tend to select a star from among these 5 shapes. Let's see what's actually on the card. Dr. Krippner? You have the only key to the padlock, and you've been holding on to it since we began the test, correct?
That's right, and here is the card.
Ladies and gentlemen, the card that most of you chose is the square. And as we revealed moments ago, a certain percentage of the audience, 16% of the audience, saw the square, but the winner by far was the wavy lines. Incorrect.
I want to be, if I can, as sure of the world, the real world around me, as is possible. Now, you can only attain that to a certain degree, but I want the greatest degree of control. I've never involved myself in narcotics of any kind. I don't smoke. I don't drink, because that can easily just fuzz the edges of my rationality, fuzz the edges of my reasoning powers, and I want to be as aware as I possibly can. That means giving up a lot of fantasies that might be comforting in some ways, but I'm willing to give that up in order to live in an actually real world, as close as I can get to it.
And we're going to do a demonstration of so-called psychic surgery as it is practiced in the Philippines. Now, if you just plunk your head right out there, this is how it looks. It looks a little bit gory at first, so please don't be too shocked by it. It's simply done like this. Now, this is the kind of operation that is done in the Philippines and which, in the long run, cost comedian Peter Sellers his very life, because he went to the Philippines believing that he was being operated on and that tumors and such were being removed from his body. In actuality, of course, it is nothing more than sleight of hand, though the hand does appear to penetrate the body. Dreadful things indeed. Hold on there, Rocky, we're right with you. And of course, I need not tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that these substances are, as the analysis usually shows, chicken, and other animal parts. Nothing more than that, and yet people go off to the Philippines by the tens of thousands and depend upon so-called psychic surgery, psychic healing, and they return to their countries to die. Rocky, I want to thank you very much. You deserve a big round of applause for coming up here. I do think you can get up now. Thank you. I do offer $10,000 to any person or persons who can produce evidence of a paranormal, supernatural, or occult event of any kind under proper observing conditions. Duplicating it doesn't mean anything. Right. I can duplicate it, a big deal. But can they prove that it's real? The onus of proof is on them, not on me.
A lot of people put a lot of faith in these psychic advisors, and they get a lot of happiness from them. Are you taking that away from them?
Yes, I'd like to supply it with something that's real. You have to know what the real world is and what the fantasy world is. When they overlap, or the fantasy world gets into the reality world and takes over, then you are a victim for anyone that comes along with a good story to tell. But he failed to do it, of course, and it turned out he said his name was Song Chai and that he trained in China. His name was James Heydrich, and he was born in Passaic, New Jersey, where they don't even have a decent Chinese restaurant.
On pills, throw them up there on the stage. You don't have to leave with those pills.
He had people who were on medication, necessary medication, like nitroglycerin tablets for heart attack, digitalis, things like oral insulin. He had them come out of the audience and throw their pills up on stage.
Throw them up there. That's a blow of defeat for the devil.
As you see it, this is the real danger in all the faith healing.
It's one of the real dangers. The other danger is emotional dependence on charlatans like this, people who claim that they have an ability to tell you how to run your life and how to recover from disease.
The ceiling is high enough.